that you had been pregnant before. Is that when you were able to finally confide in someone that
Yes.
that this abuse had been ongoing?
Yes.
And what happened then?
The doctors, kind of make their little notes and, move on. And the boyfriend wound up going to the wayside shortly thereafter because he became physically abusive after she was born. So it was kind of didn't want to tell, but I needed to start getting this off my chest. And it affected the way I related to men, so I needed to be able to tell them so they knew when I went crazy that I wasn't going to be crazy for long. It was just going to be this short period that I needed to get through. Don't acknowledge my birthday just yet, that kind of stuff.
You smile and say, go crazy, but I mean, that's normal. I mean, to me, that sounds like going crazy would be a normal reaction to what you had endured all those years.
And I did. For a long time, I had lots of issues. One of the biggest things is when I was living with my mother, one of the people that had abused me tried suffocating me. And for the longest time, if you were to touch my mouth or hold my head still, I had the king of panic attacks, and I was just, it was unbelievable. I mean, when my daughter was born and she would come near my mouth, I would almost shove her off because the panic was just so great I couldn't even begin to control it.
My goodness, it's a harrowing tale, and yet you've survived it and can talk about it in such an eloquent way. I'm moved by it. You, Jessica, were 19 by the time that you actually revealed what happened. You were in a women's studies class in college and had a virtual breakdown, revealed the information to your mother, and she was very supportive, I understand.
Yeah. So I first told my mother when I was about 11 or 12, because I think, when this happens to you, you always feel different. You always have this, it's with you all the time. It's this secret. And I never had the shame Linda alluded to, feeling bad about yourself, and I never really had that as much. I just knew I had something I had to get out. So I told my mom when I was about 12, but she just didn't deal. I think she didn't even hear me. So when I was 19, I thought, well, I'll just fix this myself. I'll do a paper on incest, and I'll be done with it. Very logical, and it really just brought everything out.
And how long did you have to work through it, or is it still an ongoing process even today?
It is. It's always an ongoing process, I think, but the hard work really started then, I'd say, till I was in my late 20s. Just a lot of therapy, a lot of patience with my husband, a lot of acknowledging what triggers you and how to deal with it. And a lot of people in this situation also become very not controlling, but very controlled. And the way I reacted was the littlest thing would set me off like no tomorrow. I mean, an accident, I was stuck in traffic. My life was, I had to have my box. And if my box got shaken up, the external affected me so much. So those are the kinds of things you work through in therapy, as I'm sure you realize.
Right. What Jessica, you're describing is a lot of times when people come in for help for this problem, whether they have a lot of the memories or not, what they definitely have are what we call the symptoms. A lot of times trauma survivors can have more symptoms than memories. When Jessica was describing that this started at 4 and things are fuzzy, and because what happens is the trauma can be so overwhelming to the body that the memory system gets shut down, and what you have are more sensory memories or symptoms as a way to cope and make sense of it. And then you sometimes work with the symptoms in treatment rather than just the memories.
We're almost out of time. I'm sorry. I could talk to you for great lengths about this, but I know people are curious whether you have any kind of relationship with your uncle and what happened with your father. So could we just touch on that very quickly?
Sure. I don't. I sent him a letter and confronted him, and I gave him some ways to kind of make retribution. He chose not to. I have no use for him in my life.
And how about you, Linda?
My father looked me in the face when he had been confronted by someone else. He looked me in the eye, told me it was my fault, and that was pretty much the end of anything. I went there to see my brother, and that was about it. And in 2002, he passed away, and as the oldest child, I did my job and paid for his burial.
You're an amazing woman. You're an amazing woman. I don't know how you could have done that, but I applaud you for the courageous way that you are confronting this, both of you, and how you're telling your story so that others can recover as well. And it's a continuous process, isn't it, this recovery?
Oh, definitely.
Fortunately, you've had children, you're moved on, you also are married, and you're working at that, I understand, as well. Very quickly, if people think that there is a problem or they suspect it, what would you suggest?
That they try to seek out help, that they find a safe person either in their family or their support system that they can talk to, that they go to see a therapist, somebody that can help them.
But we
be
should talk
objective.
about it.
Definitely.
We should talk about it
Definitely.
even if you suspect it. All right, Kara, thank you very much.
Just on that note, I want to say something. I get asked a lot about that, and the one thing I want to say is for the person who wants to help someone they think is in that situation, build a relationship.
That's right.
Don't come
Well
out of the
said.
blue.
Great
Well said.
advice. Ladies, thank you so much for being with us. We certainly appreciate it. Thank you very much for being with us as well, and I hope this helps you if you need it. Good night.